What do you mean by the plus and the minus, the shadow? What's an example of that?
Yeah, I think so. For me, I have extreme bias reaction and really, really high risk tolerance. So I'm very much fire, ready, aim. Like, let's go. I see something, it's exciting, let's move. And anybody who's standing in the way of that, anybody who is going to say, hey man, pump the brakes, let's ask some questions, I'm just going to bowl them over. And so that to me, pluses or the minuses or the shadow of that personality, like that's the shadow, is not realizing like, wait. The people that want to pump the brakes, those are good people. And that's their strength. And I should see that as an opportunity to slow down. I should see it as someone that is not getting in my way, but actually wants to see that idea succeed. They want to see it through to fruition. They want to see it be successful. They're actually doing me a service, not a disservice.
Yeah. I can see that myself in a number of ways. I'm not quite the ready, fire, aim guy. I'm more of the analyze it 500 times over and then weigh every single option and then 2 years later take action on it.
That would be the opposite.
Yeah, it would be the opposite. So then it drives other people like Alex, our amazing creative director of the BetterLife Tribe, the guy who sets up all the technology to make this podcast work.
He did great.
Yeah, he did awesome, right? But I'll change my mind like 40 times when I'm like, okay, let's do this. And then it just changes constantly. So I suppose that's the...
ready.
Yes. That's it. All right. So you started a lot of these companies. You started young. What was your biggest failure of a company before you landed on something successful?
That's a good question, man. So many failures. I think that, I started in between a few e-commerce companies. I started a SaaS company. And so many failures in there. You want some examples?
Sure.
Okay. I got to pick a few. I think one is because I have this bias reaction and I get excited about an idea and I see someone who feels like they're going to be the yin to your yang, so to speak, I'll just jump right in. And you would never do that in a relationship. You would never do that in marriage. Most people wouldn't. But I do that. And normally in the beginning, I'll either see all your flaws or I'll just ignore all of them, right? There's like no, my buddy what does he say? My dimmer switch is broken. Like I don't have, like it's either off or on, that's it. And so in that business, I didn't pay attention to the clues. And as I started to see the cracks in the armor, so to speak, I started bringing it up to my wife and she's like, Peter, those are so obvious. Like you might be the last person that noticed those things. And so that was an absolute disaster. I mean, I think we had 14 employees. I ended up pretty much doing everything because this person turned out to be a raging alcoholic, just like all of these issues. And as I looked back and I reflect on that, it's like those things were always there.
Yeah. Evidence
was always there. But I didn't want to see them because I was so infatuated with the idea and the momentum and the excitement that I ignored them. So again, bias reaction, fire, ready, aim. Like that has definitely, bit me in the rear end several times. And it's kind of humbling, man, because it really takes so much time for people to grow and have the self-awareness to understand like, okay, pluses or the minuses. Let's like in this situation, I need to pump the brakes and pay attention to the patterns in your life. Because we tend to repeat them, right? Like we're pretty, we're smart in some ways, we're really, really dumb in others. And it's like, wait a minute, I've done this several times, like when am I going to learn, right? Yeah. And so paying attention to those patterns, I think have started to help me realize like, okay, in this situation, I really, really, really need to be a Brandon Turner. I need to be like ready, aim, fire.
Yeah, that's good. There's that famous saying, I don't know who originally said it, probably Abe Lincoln, because everything gets attributed to him, about you are the average of the 5 people you hang out with the most, or you associate with the most. One thing I try to do in my life is as I know that I have flaws, you can call them, or benefits, whatever you want to call it. Like I have pluses and minuses. I like that you said that. And so I always try to think like who has that opposite? Like who doesn't have that? And I want to be more like them. I'll give you one example of that. I am not a very argumentative person. Like if I have a contractor I'm hiring to do work on a project and then he does the work and he does it wrong, he'll come to me and be like, all right, I'm all done. And I'll look at it and I'll be like, that's in my head. I'm saying that's wrong. And I'll look him in the eye and say, great, cash or check, right? And then I will then go and fix his problem later. And so I look at that and I'm like, I know that about me, and I can't seem to fix it. And then, so either A, I've had to learn to kind of work my way around it, and I've gotten pretty good at that, where you hire other people to be the jerk, like, and then that's real easy. Or I follow people online deliberately who I don't actually even necessarily like, but I follow them because they exhibit that trait so severely, I hope it wears off on me a little bit. Like David Goggins would be an example. I mean, I love David Goggins, but like he's an example. He's so hardcore that like I don't think he'd have a problem telling a contractor in a lot of 4-letter words to go and redo that project.
Yeah.
And so I follow guys like that, and I don't want to be David Goggins, but I want to be a little more like David Goggins.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
For sure. There's a tool we call 70/30, and I like this tool a lot because it's explained to me and given me a vocabulary and with which I can understand how I've yo-yoed in my career, and in my leadership, and in my leadership at home and at work. The idea is you spend 70% of your time on your unconscious competence. Now, what's that? Unconscious competence is something that you can do in your sleep, really, really good at, maybe even world-class at. Like for you, interviewing, no problem, right? Behind the mic, no big deal. Behind the camera, talk for hours. I've seen you do it, right?
Yeah.
Your conscious competence is, you're welcome. Your conscious competence is something that you need to be consciously competent about, meaning that you need to be deliberately getting better at, and it's necessary for your career. It's necessary for you to be better holistically. Now, why 70/30? 70% of your time spent on your unconscious competence, while 30% spent in your growth area where you need to grow better at. Like in your example, like needing to be like, hey, I appreciate your work. You did a really good job. However, I would really like for that, for that header or for that, piece of baseboard to be a little straighter, a little tighter, whatever it is. Now, what happens for me is I'll go 40/60 for a long time or 30/70 for a long time, and I'll become miserable. Why? Because I'm burning up all this bandwidth trying to be consciously competent at things that I'm just not naturally good at. So what'll happen is I'll realize that I'm doing it, and I'll swing all the way to the other direction. I'll go 95/5. Like, man, screw this. I'm not doing all this stuff anymore. I'm not good at it anyways. I'm going to go and spend the majority of my day, 95% of my day, on the things that I'm unconsciously competent about. And then what'll happen? Everything will start falling apart. Why? Because there's still necessary things for you to do. Whether it's bookkeeping for you that you don't like, talking to the contractor in a stern way, whatever it is that you need to be good at. And so that 70/30 is like that healthy balance of unconscious competence and conscious competence. So for you, it'd just be like, hey, you know what? I'm going to spend a little bit more of my day just being a little bit more stern or being a little bit more direct with the people I need to be direct with. They're going to be happy because they're going to know that they did a good job, and you're going to rehire that guy.
Yeah.
That other guy, he has no chance now.